Hey everyone, in the last video we talked about how I installed a 12-channel XLR snake in my home recording studio. For this video, I'll be demonstrating how to finish the female end of the snake in my live room. Before installing the snake in my studio, I had already built the male end that would live in my control room. The process for constructing and soldering each side is the same, so you can repeat what you see in this video with the male end as well. This video is brought to you by DistroKid. Join over 1 million artists that rely on DistroKid to get their music onto Spotify, Apple Music, and all other major streaming services. DistroKid services are more accessible than ever with their new app, now available on iOS and Android. With the DistroKid app, you can upload new releases and see your DistroKid bank and withdrawal earnings straight from the app. You can edit your account details and check your streaming stats from Spotify and Apple. It's also easy to edit your release metadata or add and edit lyrics or song credits. The DistroKid app is available for iOS and Android. You can download it at distrokid.com/app or in the App Store or Google Play Store to sign up for a DistroKid account and choose a plan today. First, we're going to talk about color coding, which is optional, but I feel it really helps to make sense of the snake at a glance. And the expandable colored nylon we'll be using gives the snake a lot more durability by reinforcing each end of the cable. The sequence used for coloring snakes comes from resistor color coding. On a resistor, each color has a number value, and we'll be using a similar sequence for our snake. In resistor color coding, 0 is black, 1 is brown, 2 is red, 3 is orange, 4 is yellow, 5 is green, 6 is blue, 7 is violet, 8 is gray, and 9 is white. So for our snake, we're going to start on 1 for brown, and then go through Roy G. Biv, then gray, white, and finally black. For the last 2 channels on my snake, I'm going to repeat white, black, but add a red stripe so that I can tell that they're the second pair of that color. If you're building a larger snake, you could repeat the color sequence with 11 being brown again. Some people use colored rings through the second sequence, like I did for the last 2 channels of my snake. So the brown ring would go on 11, red ring for 12, orange ring for 13, and so on. I've also added some red heat shrink to the black leads to remind me that they're the right side of the pair or the even number. That's just a little bit of personal customization. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, let's actually start building the female XLR snake end. First, measure and mark around 2 feet down the end of the snake. This will be the length for your cable ends, so measure accordingly. I made the male end in my control room a little bit longer to be able to spread out and reach different pieces of outboard gear, but with the extra length of the snake in the live room, 2 feet on the female end was plenty. Next, carefully score the outer jacket. Be really gentle and spread the cable so you just expose the ends without nicking them. Work your way around the jacket and pull it off. Remove the paper and separate the ends. You'll want to find the first end that's labeled with a 1. Now, don't bare the wire ends yet, because we're going to have to feed this end through a nylon sheath, and this is much easier to do when you only have to feed one end through. And yeah, I definitely got a little bit eager and got ahead of myself a few times, as you can see. So next we're going to measure the colored nylon braided sheath to the length of the end minus about 1.5 inches. So cut the braid to length and feed the wire through. This is a tricky bit. You're going to use one hand to push the wire through and the other to expand the braid and pinch the wire and pull it forward through the braiding. So gradually work the cable through the nylon braid. When you're finished, slide your fingers all the way along the braid to shrink it back into place. Next, we'll add a piece of heat shrink on both ends to seal the braid in place. This will also help to give your cables some extra support and prevent shorts by protecting the joints where your XLR connector boots meet the braid. You can also add heat shrink to the base of the snake where all of the ends begin to reinforce that joint. Next, add your colored XLR boot. It's important that you do this before soldering or you'll have to redo it. It's not like I would know from experience or anything. Now you're ready to strip about 1 inch off of the first end. Just like before, carefully use a razor to remove the jacket without nicking the inner wires. This 12-channel mogami snake cable has 4 different wires within it. The colored wire for the hot or positive signal, the clear wire for the cold or negative signal, a copper braid for ground shielding, and a silver wire, which is a drain. You're going to start by collecting all the copper wires together, twist the copper shielding and the silver drain together to form your ground wire. Next, use wire strippers to strip about 1/4 of an inch off of each of the leads. Finally, twist each end together. Now that cable is ready for the next step. So next you're going to repeat this process for every cable end of your snake. And I promise that getting these nylon sleeves on does get easier, just go slow and inch them on. And this is way easier if you don't bare the ends of the cable like I did on the first few. You want to do that after the sleeve has been heat shrinked in place. That'll make it way easier. Once all of the ends have been completed, take one quick check to make sure that all of your heat shrink is in place. And now you're ready to tin, solder, and terminate your cable ends. First, tin the terminals of the XLR connector with a small amount of solder. This will help prepare the terminal for the wire and make a better connection. Then, you'll tin the wire ends and the ground, and make sure that all the copper is twisted together for each end. Again, that's really going to help to make a better connection with less noise. Start by soldering the cold wire into terminal number 3. Next, solder the hot wire into terminal number 2. Next, I like to twist the XLR connector around and then solder in the ground. I find that it helps to keep all the wires tight and in together. And that'll allow you to easily slide over the protective sleeve and screw it into the boot. Then you're going to repeat this process for each of the cable ends. And I found that this snake project was great soldering practice. I was much slower in the beginning, but I definitely found that I was getting much faster and cleaner solders towards the end. The twisting technique came to me about halfway through after I was sick of soldering everything together, only for it to not fit within the sleeve. And if you want a more in-depth soldering tutorial, check out Gary Cable's 3-part series on this channel on building your own XLR cables. Once all of your cable ends have been soldered, add number stickers to the heat shrink behind each of the colored boots. And you can apply some heat with a heat gun to stick them down if necessary. And I'll just warn you that if you're making a snake over 10 channels, those ones start to get scarce really quick. So that's a good reason to have the colored bands as a backup so that you can differentiate between the channels at a glance. And there you have it, the complete guide for building your own XLR snake. Whether you're enhancing your home recording studio or gearing up for an on-the-go setup, crafting a customized XLR snake can make a significant difference in cable management and overall convenience. Remember that color coding not only adds a professional touch, but also allows you to quickly identify each channel. And if you're feeling creative, don't hesitate to add your own personal touches like colored rings or heat shrink for that extra customization. Now, I realize that this process may seem quite intricate, but with patience and attention to detail, you'll create a reliable and durable XLR snake that's tailored to your specific needs. I hope you found this video helpful and informative. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, consider subscribing for more content like this. Your support means a lot, and I really look forward to sharing more videos like this one with you in the future. Thanks for watching, and happy building.